I put in my third bullet, 10,500 into this 3,500 tournament. That's not exactly where you want to be. But this time I won every hand. I got dealt good cards. They held up. I got dealt crappy cards. They made the nuts. All of my bluffs got through. It was a great day. So now I have 150,000 chips. So I bought in for 90,000, and I have 150,000 after 2 days of play. So we've made $7,000 in equity, which is nice, at least in the main event. So we're going into day 2 with one of the top chip stacks. That's exactly where you want to be. You can still re-enter for 2 levels. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm not even going to take money downstairs with me. That is how confident I am. I will not have to re-enter. Oh boy. Only bad things happen when you say stuff like that. Hello everyone. I'm Jonathan Little. I'm at Borgata. I actually didn't plan on making a video blog, and I sure didn't plan on making it after the first 2 days of play where I lost basically every hand I played. So I showed up to Borgata to play only a $1,500 buy-in bounty tournament and the $3,500 main event. So right off the bat, there really isn't a ton of action here. I was planning on being here just a few days. But then I realized I have to stay here because I am going to a charity tournament in Minneapolis on the same weekend as the Super Bowl right after this. So I drove to Atlantic City from New York City. Shout out to Gary Broder, my father-in-law, for driving me. And then I am flying from Philadelphia, which is the closest major airport to Atlantic City, to Minneapolis to play the charity tournament, and then back from there, home. So I'm gonna be here for a few days, which is fine. The first $1,500 tournament, I lost every hand I played. I got it all in with aces against queens, and he won. So that was annoying. I could have collected a bounty and been almost even. It was a $1,000 bounty and a $500 buy-in tournament, so the bounties were really relevant. But I didn't collect that one. Then I lost a flip, so I was out. Main event, day 1A. I lost every hand on my first bullet, pretty much. Then I lost a flip to lose. Then I bought in again. I actually won some hands. I got it from 35,000 to about 30,000 to about 45,000. Got it in with, what I have? I either had ace, king, or queens, one of the two. And the opponent had the other ones. And I lost. So just like that, I was out again. I put in my third bullet, 10,500 into this 3,500 tournament. That's not exactly where you want to be. But this time I won every hand. I got dealt good cards. They held up. I got dealt crappy cards. They made the nuts. All of my bluffs got through. It was a great day. So now I have 150,000 chips. So I bought in for 90,000, and I have 150,000 after 2 days of play. So we've made $7,000 in equity, which is nice, at least in the main event. So we're going into day 2 with one of the top chip stacks. That's exactly where you want to be. You can still re-enter for 2 levels. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm not even going to take money downstairs with me. That is how confident I am. I will not have to re-enter. Oh boy. Only bad things happen when you say stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. These tournaments that have 1,000 people, I don't really get too hopeful for them just because I realize it's hard to win 1,000 people's money. But at the same time, I'm going to go down, play my best. I think a lot of people think, oh, you need to be confident. You need to think you're going to win the tournament. And while I do think confidence is important, I think confidence in the fact that I have studied the game plenty ahead of time, well more than almost all my opponents, is what is going to make me play well kind of regardless. I'm not going to get too excited when I win or too crushed when I lose. I mean, you'll see people just like jumping up and down and celebrating when they win, because if they lose, it's almost as if their life is over. If I lose, my life's still great. So I think some people view my, I don't even know, is apathy the right word? My apathy? I don't think that's the right word necessarily, but my lack of caring as, I don't even know, I'm bad with English apparently. I do care, but I realize what I can control. And it's important to understand what you can control and do your best with those things. And the things you can't control, like if you lose your flips, don't worry about them. And I understand in poker tournaments, you gotta win some flips. Fortunately, on bullet 2, I've won all my flips. So if I just keep winning all my flips, I'll probably win the tournament.
Good morning. How are you doing? You too. Oh.
There we are, 57.
After a long day, I'm back in my hotel room with a 2 times average stack. That is lucky. We are right near the bubble. I think 2 more people need to go broke before we get in the money. I had a swingy day. So I started with 150,000, which was about 2 times average. Then I proceeded to lose every pot. There was one particularly fun one where I had ace-king against 9s. Flop came ace-king 5, 2 diamonds. My opponent check called. Turn was a 9. My opponent check called my big turn bet. River was some complete brick, so all the draws missed. My opponent checked. I went all in purely for value. My opponent called and I lost. So just like that, I was down to something like 60,000. Then I doubled up a short stack. I lost another hand and I was down to 28,000, I think, at my shortest, which was about 12 big blinds. It's definitely not where I wanted to be. From there, I won some hands. I don't remember exactly how I chipped up, but I think I actually ended up winning just a bunch of small pots, which was always nice. To get back, I don't really know. I must have won some big pots here and there. But I got back to about 150. Then I played a fun hand where I limped small blind with pocket 3s. The big blind raised to about 3.5 big blinds. I went all in for 30. He thought for forever and then called with ace queen, which he definitely has to do. And I lost that flip to put me back down to 70,000. Again, about 20 big blinds. An orbit later, I found kings in the big blind in the exact same spot. My opponent limped small blind. I raised to about 3 big blinds. My opponent went all in. I obviously called my kings. He had ace king, and I held. So I was back to 150. I grinded it up to about 220. And then on the very last hand of the day, a loose aggressive player who had a lot of chips, seemed to be pretty aggressive. And I'm not going to say splashy, but he seemed to be willing to put chips in the pot, and he used big bet sizes. He made it 10,000 at 2,000, 4,000. I called in the load and the hijack seat, I think, with pocket 4s. It's a little bit splashy, but I think it's fine. Both blinds called as well. People weren't really jamming too much at this point, so I think calling's probably fine. Flop came king 10-4, 1 diamond, which will become important later. They checked around to me. I bet 22,000 into the 50,000 pot. Only the initial razor check called, so at this point I think he has a lot of marginal stuff, like a king, jack, or worse maybe. Maybe hands like queens, jacks, maybe a 10, remember king 10-4. Maybe stuff like ace queen, ace jack, etc. Turn was a 5 of diamonds, so 2 diamonds available. My opponent checks. I bet 49,000 out of my about 180,000. And he pretty quickly went all in, and I thought, oh man, this is how I'm going to end up bubbling this thing against the set. But I don't really care. So I called it off. He had ace jack of diamonds, so he turned the world draw, and somehow I held. I couldn't believe it. I was like, woo, we're ready to go. And then they told us it's the last hand of the day. So we're on the bubble. The reason I had to end play a little bit early is because they have to implement the action clock, which is basically a 30-second countdown clock for each player. So you can't really stall, but that's not a problem for me. I go pretty quick anyway. And so yeah, there's 158 players remaining, 156 get paid. If I make it through tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to go to the charity tournament in Minneapolis, which is a bit of a bummer. But if I make it through tomorrow, there'll be, I think, maybe 27 or so players left in the WPT. And that's a good place to be. So clearly, I'm going to do my best and try to win this poker tournament. I have about 2 times average, like I said. It was a swingy day. I started at 150, down to 28, back up to 150, down to 70 or so, and then up to 500. So the exact opposite of day 1A, where I just lost every hand. My graph went. Day 1B, my graph just went straight up. Today, I went. So hopefully it just keeps skyrocketing straight to the top. But really, you can't control it. All you can do is show up and play your best. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Hopefully it works out well enough.
We have a boat and a flush. Wow. Oh, that's cool. That is a...
A five's full and a flush.
All right, hold it up.
This guy was the lucky one. He made a boat.
That was the unlucky one. You made a flush. Long gone silver.
That one over there.
One more hand over there, I think.
Good point.
The guy with the hat bubbled.
Give it a look.
With the hat.
Thanks, John.
It's over the split here.
You guys, sir.
Hey, got some money. Holla. Same table, it's not a split.
The two of them just plus? Okay.
But a different table, it is a split.
What? So at least you got 3K out of it.
The 3 people got
Yeah,
2K, so it's like, it's not so bad either.
Oh, yeah, I just tried to split the two.
Okay, who else?
Well, now we play.
We're all in the money now, which is fine. Everyone else is happy. Happy, happy. Happy, happy. What'd you have when you went all in?
8.
8. Oh, you're risky. Oh, shit.
Living on the edge.
Same story. Everyone's making their videos. David won a flip. Congrats on that flip.
Thank you.
Came 3 bets, 4 bets every hand.
Yep.
We have 1.1 million. That's almost no chips. Actually, it's 50 big blinds going into tomorrow. 27 folks remaining.
Here we are at the end of day 3 of the Borgata poker tournament. And I have about 45 big blinds with 27 players remaining in the tournament, which is a pretty good spot to be in. Look at my arm. Isn't that weird? That looks way better. Okay. Today was interesting. I chipped up so... I don't even know the right word. Easily, I think is the right word. From 500,000 to start the day up to about 1 million. At my first and second tables, it was just like a straight up climb. Nobody messed around. I won every small pot. It was great. Then I got moved to a new table, which was clearly the toughest in the room by a mile. I knew everyone at the table, and they all played well. I generally decided to play somewhat sane against everyone at the table. They did move in a few recreational players, and I did my best to splash around against them. I got lucky sometimes, I got unlucky sometimes. But yeah, at the end of the day, I ended up with 1.1 million. So I moved to that table with 800,000, got out of it with 1.1 million, so I guess I should be happy. The problem is average is now 1.4 million, so we're playing really deep stacked. Like I said, I have 1.1 million going to 24,000 big blinds, so about 40-something big blinds. It's always nerve-wracking going through the final few days of a tournament, but I think at this point I realize that you can't do a whole lot besides just play your best. So I'm going to play my best, and that's really it. I think the field is generally pretty soft. Right now there are 27 players remaining, like I said, and probably 12 or 13 of the players are what I would consider to be very, very good, and the rest are somewhere between pretty good and not so good. And if I get a good seat draw tomorrow, I'm going to be in great shape. If I get a bad seat draw, well then we're just going to be flipping coins. So hopefully I don't have to flip coins. And if I have to flip coins, hopefully I flip better than everyone else. I lost. I took 23rd place, which is not good when only 27 start the day. I had one big hand. I'd been kind of splashy against one player. Not insane, but reasonably aggressive. And he limped small blind. I checked big blind. He seemed like one of the few recreational players at the table, which is worth mentioning here because it's going to come up on the river for sure. I checked 10-6 offsuit. Flop comes King 7-7. He checks. I bet one big blind. He hems and haws a bit, then calls. Looking back, he maybe hemmed and hawed a little bit too much. Turn was an 8. So now I have a gut shot. He checked. I bet 55,000. He called. River was a 9, giving me a straight. I had 10-6. So he led into me for about 90,000 with about 600K total. Something like that. I decided to raise with the straight. I thought he had a lot of 7s and a lot of kings, mostly kings, almost entirely kings, maybe some 7s. So I made it 310, thinking he was going to call me a lot. And he went all in very quickly. Now, at this point, I had to put in about 250K to win a 1.6 million pot, or something like that. So I'm getting really good odds. So clearly, he likes his hand. I don't think he's bluffing ever. The question is he ever overvaluing a 7? And he needs to be doing it about 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 times. Now, having the 10 and the 6 in my hand are bad, because that means he doesn't have 7-6, which is an obvious limping hand, or 10-7, which is also an obvious limping hand. He could easily have 10-8 or 10-9. I'm sorry, 9-7 or 9-8, not 9-7 or 8-7. He could also have King 7 and just be trapping hardcore the whole time. Probably doesn't have pocket kings, probably doesn't have pocket 7s. Clearly there are a lot more unpaired 7s than paired 7s, but will he actually overvalue those? That's the hard thing to know. I decided to call though, because I'm a calling station. And he did just have King 7, and I should have read into his hemming and hawing. The problem is you never know these things. You know these things after the fact. Like if I ever play with this guy again, his hemming and hawing is going to be really, 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 really strong. So certainly I would just never even bluff in that scenario, and I would also just call his river bet. But pretty crappy spot. Normally he does not want to lead the river because I'm going to fold all my bluffs. And I'm certainly going to value bet a king or 7, right? So not a very good river lead by him. He only forces me to fold my bluffs. By checking, he gets me to bluff and put more money in. This time, though, it worked out perfectly because I had an effective nut hand. Question is my hand really an effective nut hand? It's close. I'm always raising the river, though. Some people on Twitter said, oh, why raise the river? Like, because he has a lot of kings and 7s. And I'm going for value. I'm trying to win the poker tournament, etc., etc. So anyway, this sucks. I took 23rd place. I got 23,000. I was in the tournament for 10,500, so I made 12,000 bucks on the trip. Which, you know, if you told me I'd come out here and make 12,000 bucks in 5 days, I would sign for it. I sure wanted to win. And I had a shot to win. That's the problem. It's always tough whenever you actually have a shot and then you just come up well short of that shot. On the tournament clock here, they have the chop value. In case all 20 people in the tournament want to chop, we would have gotten like 120K. And I got 20. It's not where you want to be. So anyway, I am... another downside of making top 27 is I had to not go to the charity tournament in Minnesota because my flight today was out of Philadelphia, leaving at 11 a.m. We perhaps should have timed that better. Maybe I could have left at 7 p.m. and that would have fixed things. The problem, though, is that normally changing your flight wouldn't be a big deal, but one of the teams competing is Philadelphia. Someone was posting on Twitter about how the flights out of Philadelphia to exactly Minneapolis were like $4,000 each, so can't reschedule. So I missed that too. Today was a bad day. Sometimes you have bad days. Actually, everything's fine. So I'm gonna go home, relax. My next trip is to the Stones Casino, Stones Gambling Hall. I don't know exactly what they call it there. Stones something another in Sacramento, California. I'm gonna be commentating and playing there for about a week. And then after that, I'm going to the LAPC to play that $10,000 World Poker Tour event. I'll take all of my profits from here and put it into that tournament. So that's that. I'm always bummed whenever I lose. Maybe that's normal. All right, talk to you next time. So I went down to the bar, had a double Grand Marnier, so I'm ready to go. And then I realized all the flights from Philadelphia to Minneapolis are booked. But there's no real reason why all the flights from New York City to Minneapolis should be booked. Maybe some of them will be booked, but not all of them. So I talked to David Gitter at the World Poker Tour. He is the man. And he's going to be in touch with me as to whether or not I can get from New York City, which is where I'm going anyway. I have a car picking me up in about an hour to Minneapolis. There are 3 big airports in New York City. LaGuardia, which is the closest to my apartment. That's the one I try to go out of. Although it's not the nicest, but I don't care. I like comfort, I get comfort, but I don't need comfort. And LaGuardia is not comfortable. I think they're renovating it, so maybe it'll be comfortable one day. Anyway, LaGuardia, JFK, which is fine, and Newark, which is a long way away, but it is what it is. Quite often, travel tip for New Yorkers, LaGuardia flights are about $100 or $200 cheaper, but it costs about another $50 to get there if you take a taxi. So you make a little money, but you lose a little time. So if your time's not worth much, probably go out of LaGuardia. So, go out of Newark. LaGuardia is number 1, clearly, because it's 10 minutes away and it's cheaper. So I'm going to try to get to Minneapolis to play the charity tournament. Let's do it. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but if I make it, maybe it's just great. I come play the tournament in Atlantic City. I win $10,000. I go to the charity tournament. I lose $10,000. We call it a day. So we made it to Minneapolis. We're in the airport. It's a nice, easy flight. I drove back to Manhattan, and then, how do I get out of here? And then I took an airplane to Minneapolis. I have my suit. I have my little bag here. That's all I have. It's the lightest I've ever traveled. Somehow my bag got completely dumped upside down in the area underneath my seat. I thought I picked everything up, and then as I was getting out, I decided, you should probably look one more time, and I found my socks. Very important to have dress socks when you go to wear a suit. That would have been bad. So anyway, here we are. It's a tundra outside that you probably can't see that too well. Anyway, it's very cold here, 0 degrees. I'm looking forward to going outside, getting some fresh air, and enjoying myself.
Shouldn't be too far away. I don't know.
There's no real
Hello?
coffee.
Oh, I wonder, do we bring them over to Latitude? The coffees? I am so sorry.
Don't worry,
We actually don't
no.
have any
No coffee.
Would you like some water?
Coffee and we don't have any.
We got some surly in the back. If you want here.
Yeah, there've been a lot of poker jokes flying around this week, as you can imagine, or last month, I should say, really.
We've doubled down on the poker jokes.
That's right.
Oh, gosh.
Haha, that's the wrong game.
Okay.
Not only your driver.
Good stuff.
Okay, would you want some sugar and all that? I just want to make it.
Some people need coffee. Yeah.
I didn't get much sleep.
Yeah, right.
I already had my coffee a second ago.
So this is our warehouse space, and as I said, we take in different items. What you'll see mostly in here is our food that we repurpose in the community through what we call our matter box, and I'll let Joe talk about that. We can sweep through here, and you'll see all the medical equipment, pretty much anything you've ever seen in a hospital, from supplies to technology to beds. Anything you can name, we take it in. About anywhere from $15 to $30 million on any given year, and that gets repurposed around the world.
Here we are at the venue a little bit ahead of time. It looks sweet.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Very good, thank you. Are we ready?
It's a sweet space.
If you want to raise
Poker lesson.
at all, you want to say at least raise.
Oh, okay.
So that I know that you're not just calling.
One chip rule, like you just said. If you put in one chip, always a call. So, you gotta say 500. Or raise. Okay. Got it. We're learning together.
They like their cards.
I'm here on behalf of WPT Foundation, and I'm rapt to be here. This is such an incredible turnout. This space is amazing. The WPT Foundation started in 2012, and since then we've raised over $10 million for charities across the planet. But I gotta say, I'm pretty sure tonight is going to be our single biggest fundraising event that WPT Foundation has ever been a part of, thanks to all of you. Might even be the coolest. I don't know. This is a pretty amazing setup. The people at Latitude have done an incredible job putting this together. As Jeremy said, they put it together in 9 weeks only, which is no time at all for a huge event like this. So, well done.
Down to 2 tables, and I have fittingly 2 chips. King high flush. All these people have so many chips. Look, chips, and I have 2.
Jonathan, what chips are you talking about?
And they might as well be gone. This is embarrassing. So I got it all in with 6-3 offsuit in the big blind for my 2 chips. I won against Queen 7. Then I got it all in again with 6-3 offsuit against Ace King, which I would have beaten, and Pocket Queens, which I could not beat. So 12th place finish for me, almost good. It's funny because a lot of people, when they get down to no chips in a charity tournament, they are just in. But I decided to play it well. We dirtled around and we dirtled down to nothing. Sometimes that happens. Other times though, you dirtle into a 7th place finish, but not today. So now it's party time, and then I got to catch an airplane at 8 a.m. It's been fun. Yeah. Here. Yeah. Jamesy is a cotton tail, hopping down the bunny trail. Jamesy's on his way. Jamesy is the cotton tail, hopping down the bunny trail. Bouncy, 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 baby boy. Yeah? Are you happy? Yeah? Oh yeah. Beans. Mmm. Yeah?
Thank you.
Trzeci kuzynów i tak dalej.
Hello.